Few people know more about GOP politics than former Mississippi Governor Hayley Barbour. He used to be the Republican National Chairman. He almost ran for president this year. Governor Barbour is in Washington to talk about the presidential race and also those controversial last-minute pardons he made in Mississippi last week. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Charlie. Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about the pardons, but first, politics, following up on what Jan Crawford. How close is the race in South Carolina, according to what you know?
Well, first of all, Charlie, you wouldn't think South Carolina would be very good ground for Romney. And these recent polls that have shown Romney ahead by a fair margin, I think were surprising to anybody that's been around a long time. However, you know, this is the week we'll see how that holds up. I think South Carolina will be very close, very competitive.
Is it possible that Governor Perry may drop out and endorse someone else before Saturday?
Golly, I would be rank speculation on my part. I have no information about that.
There's also the question of Governor Romney finally at least announcing his tax rate, but not releasing his tax returns. Should he release his tax returns before the vote on Saturday?
Well, first of all, politicians, candidates shouldn't just do something because the press is trying to force them to.
It's about the voters, not the press, Governor. You know that.
Well, at some point, he's going to have to release information because as a candidate for federal office, at some point you have to release stuff. What the timing of that is really up to him.
But isn't that exactly the point? I mean, the people who are running against Governor Romney say it should do it before the voters cast their vote because it's a decisive vote on Saturday.
Well, usually candidates don't say, well, my opponents all want me to do this, so I think I'll just do what they tell me.
All right, let me turn to other issues in that campaign. Are the Republicans shooting themselves in the foot because there's so much debate about capitalism and crony capitalism and Bain capital?
Well, one thing I think is for sure that the campaign has become more negative than a lot of Republicans would like. At the end of the day, what Republicans want is a new president, a Republican president, and to beat President Obama. And so you expect some negative, but I think this has gotten more negative than most people approve of. At the end of the day, the Obama campaign strategy is going to be to try to make the Republican unacceptable and to attack him and carpet bomb him with advertising during the spring and summer. And so to the degree that this gets that started, frankly, it may not be harmful. But what we ought to see is more Republican candidates talking about Obama versus their own views rather than each other.
If Romney wins in South Carolina, will the Republican establishment and conservatives rally around him?
If Mitt Romney's our nominee, conservatives will rally around him. And Barack Obama is the great uniter for Republicans. Whoever we nominate, I think you showed a little clip of Sarah Palin saying any of them would be better than President Obama. And amen. That's what most Republicans think.
But the import of what she said was she's supporting, and if she was in South Carolina, would vote for Newt Gingrich. Does that matter in South Carolina?
Oh, I don't know. These candidates have gotten to be pretty well known. They've worked real hard in South Carolina. People there are going to make up their own minds. I think the only endorsements there that really matter a lot are Nikki Haley, the governor, and if Jim DeMint were to strongly come out and push for somebody, I think that he's very, very popular in South Carolina.
Governor, good morning. It's Erica Hill. We want to turn now to those pardons. I know you've been very clear. You're very comfortable with your decision. You do not have any concerns that some of the murderers are dangerous. However, when you talk to the families, the victims, Randy Walker was shot in the head by David Gatlin, and he said, quote, I think the governor himself should have to look me and the family in the eye and say, hey, I'm going to let this guy go. Because of all this backlash, have you reached out to him or to the families of any other victims?
You know, when I became governor, I made plain that I would follow the tradition of governors in Mississippi. For decades, the mansion, part of the staff, are trustees from the state penitentiary. In my time, all but one of them have been murderers, because the experts say that those are the people who are the least likely to commit another crime and that they are the ones who will serve the best. I have found that to be the case. These people that have been, that are at issue here, you're talking about David Gatlin, these guys have served on average 20 years in the penitentiary. David Gatlin, in 20 years, never had one citation for any infraction or violation of the rules.
But in terms of the man that he shot in the head,
he is clear.
And that man survived. Have you reached out to him or to other victims' families to?
Only to give notice that these guys are being released. But let me say, I understand, recognize, and respect the fact that if you were injured by somebody or if your loved one was killed, that there may be vengeance, there may be fear, there may be all these things. But my state spends about $350 million on corrections every year, much of it for rehabilitation.
Governor.
And a lot of guys aren't ever going to be rehabilitated. These have been. They've redeemed themselves. Yes. They deserve a second chance, and I'm the only one who can give it to them.
And you would have made the same decision if you'd been running for president and it was not a political question?
Same thing. 4 years ago, I released and pardoned the prisoners who worked at the mansion.
Thank you, Governor.
And made plain that I was going to do it again.
Thank you, Governor. Hope to see you again on the campaign trail.
Thanks, Charlie.
Governor Hayley Barbour.